The U.S. president and the leader of the Palestinian Authority pledged this week to work together to try to achieve a diplomatic breakthrough for Middle East peace. Now, that meeting comes just a few months after Donald Trump hosted Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. VOA White House Bureau Chief Steve Herman has our report.
The atmosphere was cordial when Donald Trump met Mahmoud Abbas, but the message from the American president was blunt. The United States will not dictate terms. The Palestinians and Israelis must work together to reach an agreement.
But I would love to be a mediator or an arbitrator or a facilitator, and we will get this done.
Standing alongside the U.S. president, Abbas said his people are the only ones in the world still living under occupation.
I believe that we are capable under your leadership and your courageous stewardship and wisdom, as well as your great negotiating ability, with the grace of God and all your effort. We can be true partners to bring about a historic peace treaty.
Minutes later, as a cabinet room lunch got underway, flanked by Vice President Mike Pence and Secretary of State Rex Tillerson, Trump told Abbas achieving the peace pact is maybe not as difficult as people have thought over the years. Difficulties achieving any lasting breakthrough have bedeviled Trump predecessors for decades.
Really, how difficult can it be to achieve peace in the Middle East? Now, joining us now to discuss the meeting between Abbas and the president, our White House Bureau Chief, Steve Herman. I thank you for that report. Sorry about being facetious there, but I mean, peace, as you say, has been very elusive for previous presidents. What makes Donald Trump think that he might be able to succeed where the other presidents have failed?
Because Donald Trump believes he's been able to succeed at anything he's put his mind to in the past, and why not Middle East peace? Right. Every administration takes a crack at it. Some have better success than others. I think what's notable here is they're starting on this very early. Bibi Netanyahu is one of the first visitors to the White House. The president will go to the Middle East. He will meet with Netanyahu and Abbas again this month. And they've gotten the ball rolling on this. And this is being directly assigned to the president's trusted son-in-law, Jared Kushner, and the State Department, the NSC, and other people in the administration are working on this.
It's pretty significant. I do want to talk to you about the president's itinerary coming up. But before we do that, because one of the items that was taken out of the story that we ran is an excerpt from the president who actually expressed just how easy or how difficult this whole peace process might actually be. So he's suggesting that maybe it's not as hard as it is. But Abbas was also similarly optimistic about the chances for a peace treaty. I believe we have a bit of the president's soundbite here. Have we got that rolled up? Let's have a listen.
Discussing details of what has proven to be a very difficult situation between Israel and the Palestinians, and let's see if we can find a solution. It's something that I think is frankly maybe not as difficult as people have thought over the years, but we need two willing parties.
Might he regret that later on? I mean, he famously said something very similar about health care.
I don't think President Trump regrets anything that he says. Right. He'll just find a different way to spin it. But we're in a unique period right now because you have a new administration coming in the White House, a very blunt deal maker. Abbas is in a fairly weakened position. There is Hamas controlling the Gaza Strip. Abbas is very unpopular. I think he has very little to lose as far as his movement, but he's being challenged by his own leadership. Israel, you will have criticism towards any sort of deal from both the left and the right of Netanyahu. So it might take a very unorthodox, unconventional approach by someone like Donald Trump to try to push something through.
But, Steve, let me ask you this. Given his somewhat cozy relationship with Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel, does that make him a good impartial arbitrator for
as some of the analysts I spoke with this week about this said, no one's expecting the United States to be a fair broker. They're looking for a strong broker here. And there's no doubt that Israel is in a much stronger position here. And the key really is going to be open and behind-the-scenes support from other countries, Arab countries, the Gulf countries, Saudi Arabia, perhaps Egypt, and especially Jordan. And they want to see a breakthrough. Speaking
of which, the president has announced his itinerary, and he is going to visit Saudi Arabia and Israel as well. So does that sort of play along into this whole idea of being the peace broker in the Middle East?
Well, what the Saudi trip is primarily about is getting together with the Gulf Council members and other Muslim leaders to fight Islamic terrorism. And I don't know if you want to call it a coalition, but definitely they want to get the ball rolling on that. There's been a lot of activity already with some very powerful Saudi officials here in Washington, and there's been a lot going on behind the scenes. And of course, this is more about opposing ISIS and Iran.
Right.
There will be obviously some discussion about Israel, but that will mainly happen when the president goes to Israel, which will be the second stop on the trip.
The president clearly has been engaging with world leaders a lot more than we anticipated he would during the campaign trail. He was fairly isolationist.
Right.
But now I think he's talking about possibly meeting with North Korea's Kim Jong-un, which raised a lot of eyebrows.
Well, the president, as we know, tends to just throw out comments ad lib without sort of perhaps thinking through the ramifications, or he does know and doesn't care, or is hoping just to be unsettling deliberately and putting out mixed messages about North Korea is very similar to what the North Koreans do towards the United States as well. So it's shaking them up a little bit.
And the other comments, of course, the possibility of a state visit by Philippine dictator Rodrigo Duterte.
Right. Well, Duterte said he thinks he might be too busy. He's got trips to China and Israel on the agenda. Duterte has definitely not portrayed himself as very friendly to the United States, especially during the Obama administration. President Trump also invited Prayut Chan-o-cha, who took power in a military coup in Thailand. And the president is basically saying he's willing to talk to anybody.
Right. It could be a very busy summer for you, Steve.
I think so.
I thank you so much, Steve, and all our correspondents, of course. That's all the time we have. But we will be back again next week for another edition of The Correspondents. In the meantime, stay up to date with the latest news from around the world at voanews.com. You can also check out all of our shows there. Click on the Watch tab. Make sure you choose The Correspondents. We're also on Facebook and YouTube. Do let us know what you think. We'd love to hear from you. Again, thanks for watching. I'm your host, Mil Arcega. For now, so long from Washington.